Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Enduring Long COVID. My name is Sherry, and in the last episode, I shared with you how my second COVID infection changed the course of my nursing career. So today, I want to tell you about what happened after that. At the time, I thought my biggest challenge was finding the right job. Looking back now, I realize my biggest challenge wasn't the job at all. It was actually my body. So after my second COVID infection, I returned to bedside nursing. I wanted so badly to keep doing the work that I loved. I tried, but I wasn't successful. I just simply couldn't do it. I remember being on the floor huffing and puffing, trying to care for my patients. I knew I couldn't keep going on like that after a few days. Eventually, I went into my manager's office and I said, I just can't do it. So I was sent home. I wasn't sent home because I didn't want to work. I was sent home because my body simply couldn't keep up anymore. So not long after that, the Reasonable Accommodations Department temporarily placed me in the GI lab while they searched for a permanent position that matched my medical restrictions. For the first time in a long time, I felt very helpful. I thought maybe this would stabilize me. The work was less physically demanding than bedside nursing. So surely my body could finally have a chance to catch up and get its energy back. But I was still sick. Every morning I drove more than an hour to work, and every evening I drove more than an hour back home. And every morning after that hour drive, by the time I arrived at the hospital, I felt like I had already worked a full shift. At the time, I didn't understand that simply getting to work was using a large portion of the energy my body had available for the day. I would sit in the parking garage before work. Sometimes I cried, and a lot of times I sat in the car trying to catch my breath. The tears flow not because didn't want to be at work, because I actually loved being a nurse. The tears were flowing because I was trying to gather enough strength just to walk from the parking garage into the building. I never had the breath to do it. I was always short of breath. And I remember hoping no one would stop me. I couldn't afford to even have anyone stop and conversate with me in the hallways on the way to my desk, because I was trying to get there so that I can sit down and put my head on my desk and catch my breath. But it wasn't because I didn't want to talk. Those moments were invisible to everybody else. People only saw me walking into the hospital. They didn't see what it took to get through the front doors. When lunchtime came, I would often go to my car. I wasn't trying to take a nap. I simply couldn't stay awake. A few times I fell asleep so deeply that I woke up only a few minutes before it was time to go back home. It was almost the end of my shift. I didn't make those decisions. My body made those decisions for me. And then eventually, sometime during that time, my car broke down. And for a while, I depended on Uber to get me back and forth to work. I was so exhausted that I would fall asleep in the back seat. I know that was risky, but I just couldn't stay awake. I was simply trying to survive another day. But even at home, my world was becoming smaller. For nearly a year, I could not go up the stairs in my own house. And the one day I was finally able to make it upstairs, I was surprised. I was really surprised. And it's crazy that something so ordinary felt like such a victory. That's what long COVID had done to my body. It had turned ordinary things into accomplishments. Eventually, the Reasonable Accommodation Office found a permanent position for me in community care. One of the accommodations I had requested was the ability to work from home. I didn't know what job I would be given, but I was very grateful to have the opportunity. Once again, I found myself hopeful that I could recover, and I thought this was it. I thought removing the commute would help me. I thought removing the physical demands of the hospital would help me. And I thought removing bedside nursing would help me. I thought that removing all these things would finally allow my body to stabilize and heal. And something remarkable did happen. My crashes became less frequent. So before working from home, when I used to have to go into work, I would have crashes that would last for 6 weeks. And some lasted for 8 weeks. And I've had crashes that lasted as long as 12 weeks. But after I began working from home, they often lasted 1 to 2, maybe 3 weeks at a time. That was a tremendous improvement for me. Working from home truly helped me, but improvement isn't the same as recovery. And for a long time, I misunderstood what was happening. I thought changing my environment was healing my body. But looking back now, I see it so differently. Working from home didn't remove my illness. It removed one of the biggest burdens on my body, and that was commuting every day. But it didn't cure me. It simply stopped asking my body to spend energy it no longer had. The commute hadn't been causing my long COVID. Bedside nursing hadn't been causing the long COVID. They were simply exposing how little energy my body had left. Removing those demands gave me more room to function, but it didn't bring my old life back. From 2020 until 2024, I went to 2 Tier 1 long COVID clinics. During those early years, I received a few steroid tapers, a few Kenalog injections, and a lot of breath work. There were medications that some clinicians were already using to help manage symptoms like inhalers for shortness of breath. I had even learned about H1 and H2 antihistamines before I went to these clinics, but those treatments were never discussed with me there. Like so many people during those early years, I was trying to survive one illness that the medical community was still learning to understand. Looking back now, I can see something I couldn't see back then. Every time my circumstances changed, I had hoped I had finally found enough relief to stabilize. First, I thought getting off the bedside would do it. Then I thought GI lab would do it. Then I thought working from home would do it. Each change helped. Each change reduced the burden on my body, but each improvement also revealed another layer of illness that I didn't even know was there. I didn't understand it then, but I was trying to convince my body to expand itself enough to fit my pre-COVID life. What I eventually learned was something entirely different. I had to begin reshaping my life to fit the energy my body actually had. My world wasn't getting smaller because I was giving up. My world was getting smaller because my body could no longer support the life I had before COVID. Every adjustment I made wasn't a surrender, it was actually survival. That lesson would take me years to fully understand. So, in our next episode, I'll share one of the most frustrating parts of this journey, and that's knowing that something was terribly wrong while hearing over and over again, "Your tests are normal." Thank you for listening to Enduring Long COVID. If this episode resonated with you, I hope you'll follow this podcast and share it with someone who may need to hear it. Until next time, take care of yourself. Rest when you need to. Give yourself grace. And remember, you are not alone.